Hello and welcome to the Farm and Ranch Heritage Museum in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Today we're here for the second day of the Gem and Mineral Show, and we're going to hopefully walk around the Heritage Museum and see all the exhibits here as well.
Yeah, I think that's the intent today. We actually did all our shooting of the Gem and Mineral Show yesterday, but Shelley wanted to have her hat done in a very stylish way, so we left it with the lady to do that. And so we're coming back today to pick that up.
Yes.
All right. So we're in the lobby of the Farm and Ranch Heritage Museum in Las Cruces. I'm going to give you a tour of at least this gallery here. It's called the Home on the Range Gallery. And I think then later on we're going to go to the Heritage Gallery, which is what we went through yesterday. So, and this is going to be a walkthrough tour. This is called Home on the Range, from Ranch to Rockets.
Ranches.
And what?
Ranches. Rancheros.
Oh, ranches and rockets.
Rancheros.
So water has always been an issue in New Mexico. We've never had enough of it. It's a shearing machine to shear a shearing machine to shear sheeps and goats.
Sheep shearer. You can see the buzz, 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 buzz. Ooh, interesting. Mohair. Oh, we don't get to touch the mohair fiber.
And from Angora goats.
Can do the woven and the spun.
So there's the three stages. That's when it comes off the
goat.
That's
Angora
when it's
goats.
spun, and then that's when it's woven. Milking equipment. So I used to spend my summers on I say it was my grandmother's ranch. It was my father's family ranch. Because by that time my grandfather had passed away. He passed away before I was born. But they had cattle, goats, and chickens, and rabbits. They have a rabbit den. And then when my dad and my uncles passed away, they split up the property and sold it. And that's what put us through college. The McGuffey Readers. That's way before my time, guys, so I have no comment on that. There's a chicken coop. It's like a rabbit hutch, but for chickens. And we used to play this game. We used to play pick-up sticks and marbles when we were young. Almost a handmade windmill up there.
wind charger. Provided electrical power and radio or electric lighting.
That is one big trap over there. What you're trapping with that? It's got to be a bear or bigger. I mean, what's bigger than a bear? Nothing. Grizzly bear
What's
trap.
bigger than a bear?
I mean, in the
A
U.S.
mammoth.
A what?
A mammoth.
A mammoth? Yeah.
A buffalo?
You don't trap buffalo. Little one-room home. Sink, oven, stove, a bed,
Fancy.
a carpet on the floor. They had woodwork done on the floor before.
Yeah, very fancy.
Oh. So they got the ranchers out of this area because they knew they were going to be doing testing in the Tularosa Basin, which is where White Sands is. And so they moved the farmers and ranchers out of there. And then after the war, that gentleman right there is Werner von Braun. He was the German scientist that developed the V2. And the V2 was, although it was a German design, it was our first rocket after he came to work for us. And then, of course, the military took over all of White Sands. So there's the Trinity Base Camp where all the scientists would get together. There's the Trinity site where the bomb actually, oh, do I have that right? Yeah, where the bomb actually was exploded. And then there's the McDonald Ranch. They had to give up all this area. And now it's the White Sands Missile Range Improving Grounds.
So where's Victoria Peak?
What's that right there? I can't. So I'm going to guess it's right there. But that would be a guess because that's the one that looks like it's has the cut in it. Mm-hmm. So Shelley and I have been watching a series
Gold Lies.
called Gold Lies and Videotape about the Victoria Peak treasure and how this gentleman and his wife found it, and then the government took over the property, and they've been fighting literally until this day to see if they could get their claim recognized because the government won't let them in. Trinitite. Mm-hmm. So this is the material that was left after the explosion of the bomb because it was in an area where there was a lot of sand, and the heat from the explosion melted the sand. And some of the scientists and other people that were nearby would collect it. It's sold as for rock hounds. They can buy it as Trinitite. My uncle Albert, who spent 20 years in the Navy, and then went to work for Los Alamos Laboratories in the engineering department. So there's Werner von Braun, who developed the V2, the V1 and the V2. There he is with German officers, and this is after World War II when he came to the United States as a number of German scientists. Probably predated NASA, but they created our first rockets. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you remember when we did the show from the Space Museum, out front they had the burnt hulk of a V2 rocket that had crashed as part of their display. Oh, look at this. So you remember in the Space Museum, we saw all that equipment that they used to maintain stability. This is the first one of those pieces. You saw the pieces, the gyroscopic and the, what did they call them? Stability devices that they had created most recently. This is the first one of those. And of course, there was no electronics in it. It was electrical, a test gyroscope. There's the V2 combustion engine. I would think, why would you find that here in a museum in Las Cruces? And that's because the first testing of rockets in the U.S. occurred in this area after World War II. So this is the story of the McDonald Ranch, which was the ranch that was within a few miles of where the Trinity explosion took place. And it says here, he refused to sell. In October of 1983, the court rendered the judgment valuing the McDonald land at $160,000. The brothers were paid almost $450,000 for the leases and final purchase of their 640 acres of private land. Apparently, he fought it right until the end. So if you look at the New Mexico map and you see, look in the southeast corner of New Mexico, and you'll see the land that's taken up by white sands. And it includes the missile range, the test center, things like that. But it's a lot of property. In addition to that, of course, there's Holloman Air Force Base. From ranches to rockets, ladies and gentlemen. Very cool. If you get a chance. All right, we're going to go over to the Heritage Museum now. So this is a map of New Mexico from up north. Here we are, Albuquerque, we're in Bernalillo over here. This area here, all of this is part of White Sands Missile Range, White Sands testing area. So they've got a big chunk of New Mexico. I guess it's kind of down the middle. I said southeast corner, but it looks like it's literally down the middle of the state. But it's a lot of land. So this is the Heritage Gallery. I walked through it yesterday, but as usual, I walked through it backwards. So we're going to go through in the right direction today.
Super windy outside, so we're going to stay inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel sorry for those
Yeah.
gem and mineral.
Yeah.
So the order starts with the Mogollon culture around 1,300 years ago, and then brings it up to the farming and ranching period, the Lincoln Wars, Billy the Kid, etc. So here's Alamogordo. where the Space Museum is, we're in Las Cruces right here. This is the area that White spans. That's the Tularosa Basin. And the mountains we were in yesterday are those are the San Andreas. It's the orc. Oh, so this is the period, New Mexico in the southwest, 10,000 BC, Paleo-Indian period, nomadic hunters. It's all Mogollon culture. By 200 to 1250, the corn agriculture became important. 1400 to 1500, ancient pueblos. 1540 to 1680, beginning with Coronado explores the Pueblo world. 1680, when the first Indian revolt took place, to 1821 to 1848. 1850, New Mexico becomes a U.S. territory. Settlers start coming in. And then, we skipped over, New Mexico became a state in 1912. Agriculture. So the thing about New Mexico is government has always been a big part of us, right from 1945. So this is the period they refer to as agricultural beginnings. It started with the Mogollon culture. Corn was domesticated about 6,000 years ago in central Mexico, with squash and beans following soon thereafter. Maize and squash first appeared in the upper Sonoran and Chihuahuan deserts around 4,000 years ago and spread rapidly throughout the southwest. Beans were introduced slightly later, around 2300. So maize or corn, squash, beans, and green chilies. The green chilies actually came from the same place the chocolate came from. So that's a Mogollon mud pit hut. A grinding stone, nicely made of basalt. So this is what the valley looked like at the time. So all the growing was down in the valley and the living was up above on the hillsides. So this is a Mogollon pit house. We saw a little bit of this when we were at the Maxwell Museum of Anthropology, but it wasn't built up. We just saw the pit part, and you see a lot of the same things, the fire in the middle, and then they built their own roofs, if you will, from, I don't think they called them vigas, latillas, and mud and hay. And corn husks, the corn stalks were used. They used every bit of the corn, not only the food, but the stalks. They fed some of it to the animals. As a matter of fact, they used it for heating and in the winter months they would let the corn dry out. And it was interesting because when Coronado showed up, he sent his men out with their horses and their donkeys, and they started eating the stalks. And the Pueblans didn't understand what they were doing. Like, why would you do that? That's our heating material for the year. Did you get to use the metate?
I did.
Let's see what that feels like. Well, it works. It makes the corn into meal. So cornmeal, I can make tortillas, or we can make
Malays,
Malay. Very neat.
cornbread.
No, because you would have to have oils and milks to do that, right?
Flour and egg
Yeah.
and milk. See? How-to guide. So we go this way? Yes. Okay.
So now this is the Spanish colonial period, where the Spanish brought their culture, their religion, their, more tin work as usual. Punched tin wall sconce for candles. And the reason they made so many things out of tin is because they brought their perishable foodstuffs in these tin containers that were square from the top and rectangular from the side. And after the consumables had been delivered, artists would take the tin and they'd make useful household items, or they'd make religious iconography. That's where a lot of the tin work went into. Spanish colonial home, circa 1815. So we're going to start with the living room, pantry. And they're always built around a plaza. So this is the sala, the living room.
And there's a tortilla there on the.
Corn tortilla.
Oh, it looks flour, but I don't think it's actually a tortilla.
Look at the hand-carved wooden spoons,
Pretend
bowls,
one.
trays. I was telling Shelley yesterday, my grandmother had one of these in the middle of her kitchen table, her dining room table. Pots for water. Hand spinners for spinning yarn. Another metate. More dried corn. Herbs. Dried red chili for flavoring. So this is more like an outside here, this one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's no roof.
Oh, yeah.
It's the, what do you call it? The little patio.
Patio, yeah.
Portico.
With the ornal
patio.
for making bread. There's even some bread there. You want to steal that?
No, I don't think it's real.
So pumpkins, squash, along with the corn, the beans.
Garlic.
Pardon me?
And garlic.
Oh, and the garlic for keeping away
Ajo.
ajo, keeping away the vampires. So
And
now
flavoring your food, I think, too.
we're into what
And
they refer
also
to as the
because
wheels
it's healthy for you,
and gears period.
for most people.
So oh, that looks interesting. What is that? A tire bender. Oh, so that you could bend the iron tire to make the wagon wheel. Wants to push his own buggy. Panel box buggy. Look at those wheels, how narrow they are. A buckboard. That's the equivalent of today's pickup truck. A delivery wagon, the equivalent of a UPS truck. A hand-pumped gasoline pump. And some of our 100 years of New Mexico license plates. From, well, the earliest one that has a date is 1914, so that would be 13 and 12 above that when we became a state, all the way through 2012. Now we have the, pardon me?
Say 2010. Oh, it was only used to 2020.
Right, yeah.
And then they went to that yellow one, yeah. Or back to the yellow one, I guess.
Somebody collected these. So we'll, if this is,
Oh,
an international harvester. You don't see many of those. You see a lot of Fords and some Chevys. It's rare that you see an international harvester pickup truck. Although I did take a picture of another older one at the Heart of the Desert store when we stopped in Alamogordo. Let's wait until they decide what to do.
do you see this red thing over here?
Hang on, we'll go see it in just a sec. She's moving them out. Well, I want to be able to talk about what we're doing here.
Oh, I thought you just want to do a quick walkthrough.
What is this red thing?
Now you want to know. It's to bump into pecan trees and knock all the pecans down so you can pick them up and harvest them.
So you just drive it
Seems
into...
pretty complicated thing for just shaking a tree, but apparently it's pretty good thing to have. $1949.
And a John Deere baler. So our
Windmill.
buckboards are getting rubber tires now. That's pretty cool. With brakes, no less. Air motor windmill.
Water pump.
You can see those all over, well, I was going to say New Mexico, but you can see them all over the Southwest. So that's a Basque sheep wagon. I remember we saw one of those up at that place that we stayed for Rio de los Pinos. Remember they had a Basque wagon?
That's right. Gypsy wagon kind of
Yeah,
thing.
same thing as that. Minneapolis Moline tractor in orange because that was their color. So we'll come back and look at these wagons in just a minute. Oh. One of the Spanish wagon, wooden wheel wagons. Excuse me. When we were little and we'd be on my grandmother's ranch in the summers, the ranch hands who were responsible for all the work on the ranch would sometimes let us drive the tractors. Tool shed.
This is what we need, see, for separating, classifying.
Oh, you know, well, it is a fanning mill for separate the chaff from the wheat.
That's right.
But that's also how a dry panning machine is made. It does the same thing, pumps air through it.
That's right.
There's a cultivator and a disc harrow. Come planting time. That wagon does something fancy back there. What's that? There's a Dempster veinless windmill. So it doesn't have a vein up there to give it the direction. Apparently it turns itself into the direction of the wind because of the angle of its, let's see what it says. Instead of a tail whip vane, the wheel is balanced with a distinctive horse-shaped counterweight. As the wind speeds increases, the wooden sections of this wheel fold inward to catch less wind, thus self-regulating. I'm going to go find out what this wagon is. It's a spreader and peg harrow, and I'm not smart enough about farming and ranching to know what that does. I remember having one of these. So that was a riding plow and a planter on that side. But those seats on the back were always made for a lot of fun because they were bouncy. There's a McCormick Deering Farmall tractor. How they did the wash back then, all by hand, of course. I don't see a sign, but it looks,
A rolling pin.
is it a dryer maybe?
I don't know, maybe it's for
An
making
iron?
tortillas. I have no idea.
No, it's up there with the irons. I think it's for ironing.
It's in Spanish. Squishing out water? I don't
Is
know.
that a house?
Well, that's how my grandma's dressed.
Yeah, it is kind of. Well, my Spanish grandma's dressed more like that.
Oh, yeah?
So this is a settler's living room and kitchen.
1900 to 1930.
1930.
1900 to 1930.
I have a picture of my mother in front of one of those refrigerators, or ice boxes they called them.
Yeah.
She, to the day she died, she'd call it an ice box.
Mm-hmm.
So this wedding dress
It's made from a parachute.
was made from a World War II silk parachute, 1947. She couldn't afford to purchase a wedding dress, so her mother bought a surplus parachute and made one for her.
And apparently
Well,
that became very popular after the war.
I'd say she did a darned good job.
So they had a bunch of surplus parachutes, and they were made out of silk from Japan.
Well, general store with their dresses if you wanted to buy one. Fresh fruits and vegetables, candies for the kids, canned goods, and brown paper to wrap everything up in.
Rice and beans, mailboxes,
Tools up there.
post office,
Oh, look at the post office.
typewriter, and desk, catalogs to order stuff. I would imagine that you would have to,
Yeah.
buy clothes for your largest child, and
Just let them,
and
not a hand-me-downs.
yeah, because by the time it would come in, kids might grow out of it. They grow so fast. If they grew that fast.
Okay. So I am a fine arts major. See, I proved it to you.
I guess Kevin's got a snow squall alert. Here.
12:15 p.m. Oh, gosh. Looks like we've got some snowy weather coming for us up in northern New Mexico. They may have to drive to it or through it. So the railroad came into town.
I'll take my phone back if you're done looking at it.
Yeah, I think we are.
Done looking
Oh.
at my phone.
Oh, look at that bowler. Probably shouldn't share this with you, but I did wear a bowler for my junior-senior prom at St. Michael's High School. So this is the farming and ranching period. There's a nice drone shot of the location that we're at today. There's our friend Billy the Kid. Oh. So that's the O brand that belonged to Pat Garrett, the gentleman that shot Billy the Kid. Well, so these are all the brands from the area. So the big deal during what was called the Lincoln County Wars was the concept of open range. That is, the land was not leased, it wasn't purchased, it was open. And anybody could use it for however they wanted. So it started as an argument between the cattlemen, and then the sheep farmers got involved, or the sheep herders got involved, and then the ranchers and farmers got tied up with the cattle owners. So those are the McSweens. That's Mrs. McSween. That's Pat Garrett over there. That's Billy the Kid. That to me looks like Pat Garrett's pistol. Let me see.
Oh, one like it maybe.
Right. So this is a whole section dedicated to that period and all the big names that were part of that history. So the McSweens, if I remember correctly, he was an attorney. The Santa Fe ring. That's a video to explain it all.
Report of the Lincoln County War from federal agent Frank Angle, whose President Rutherford B. Hayes placed Rutherford Axtell. The Civil War. He arrives in Santa Fe September 29th, and on November 13th, 1878,
Less than 10% battery left.
Okay, we're almost done. Let's just finish this walkthrough. So we're not going to try and tell you the whole story. The idea is to give you an idea of what's here. And There's some longhorns. We don't see many of them around New Mexico anymore. All right, guys. That's the tour of the galleries at the Farm and Ranch Heritage.
Dust storm. Visibility dropped into 0.
20 feet. Why is it showing up on that phone? Oh,
I have no idea why it's showing up.
let's get our outro in before. Right here.
Well, that was a look at the Farm and Ranch Heritage Museum in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And we're about ready to head out, but a dust storm warning is coming up, so we're going to see the safest time to drive.
Right. Also, I want to let you guys know we had a great time here in the Alamogordo, Las Cruces area. If you don't make it down to southern New Mexico, you should go out of your way to get down here because there's lots to be seen and done. We're going to have to come back just to get more, to see more. And
It's a great place to come in the winter, too, because it's warmer.
yeah, I mean, it's been 70s.
There it goes again.
Hang on. So what you're picking up now is our warnings. We're getting weather warnings of wind and snow. Let me take this from you. So that's Shelley's phone is giving us a warning for wind and snow. What's it telling us?
I don't know, went away.
All right. Nonetheless, all right. I'm gonna come back and I think I'll take some photos. Maybe I'll just pull them from the video, and we're gonna get out of town because this weather is not gonna get any better. All right. Thanks for staying with us, guys. We really appreciate it.
See you later.
So, at the same time that we got a snow warning coming from up north, we got a sandstorm warning down here. So what started out to be a really good, nice day. I guess I'm glad that we shot the Gem and Mineral show yesterday.
Yeah.